Roach.
Thank you, Mr Chair. It's a pleasure to take a call for the Green Party on the Home and Community Support Payment for Travel Between Clients Settlement Bill in this part of the proceedings, the Committee of the Whole House. Sir, I'd like to start my speech by acknowledging the genesis of this bill, and the genesis of this bill really does rest with Jenny Goodman, the home care worker and PSA member who, with her union, lodged a claim with the Employment Relations Authority way back in August 2013. The union and Jenny were basically acting on some of the recommendations that were coming through from the Human Rights Commission report, Caring Counts, put together by Dr. Judy McGregor, who was one of the commissioners at the time, who actually went undercover as a home care worker in order to have a look at how the aged care sector worked and what were the conditions that the women, mostly women, in that industry faced, as well, of course, as the clients themselves. And what Judy McGregor, Dr. McGregor, recommended was a series of things. But the first 5 were that the government showed leadership to deliver better services to older people, because when we are not paying home support workers or even rest home workers as well as they should be, and we have to acknowledge that they are underpaid, and that's what the equal pay case is about, which is currently being negotiated. But when we don't pay them well enough, then essentially it's a disservice to the clients that they look after. She also recommended that the woefully low wages be addressed and that, as a minimum, government-funded service provided in the aged care sector, including home support, should actually reach the same sort of parity as those who are employed directly by DHBs. She also suggested that there be a consistent and fair travel policy covering actual time and costs, and this is what we're discussing today, sir, but also that there be a commitment to qualifications for staff and that employers commit to this, and there be voluntary safety standards, including a home and community support sector standard, and that become compulsory, which would set out minimum standards for care, which would protect older people as well as the workforce, sir. So this bill is actually the result of the government and the employers, so the Ministry of Health and the employers and the unions agreeing that they will address the issue at least around travel time. Now, sir, during the agreement to withdraw legal proceedings and to forego back pay claims for the workers in the home support sector, as a result of that, there is also an agreement that the working group that was set up to address this issue carry on and look at the qualifications for workers, for home support workers, but also to look at regularising their hours of work. Because, sir, essentially, the home care support sector is based on 0-hour contracts. That's exactly how it works, and it's a scourge for workers across the country, because essentially from week to week, many workers can't actually determine how much they'll get paid or plan how they will spend that pay as a result. So, sir, as a result of the negotiations, this was the deal. That qualifications would be discussed and there would be an attempt to regularise the workforce so that they could have secure hours in that area. And it's a real tribute to the negotiating powers and goodwill, I would say, from Jenny Goodman and from all those members of the PSA who have ratified this, that they are looking forward to the future, to a time where they can have regularised hours and a career path with training that would be offered to them and acknowledged within their pay scales there. The settlement also is constructed so that although this is going to cost, I think it's around about $38 million, sir. Mr. Chair, thank you. That although it is going to cost 38 million, I think, in order to bring the travel time into play, so that all those workers in their sector do get paid the travel time. So, despite that, we need to make sure that the money that goes into the home support employers is actually passed on to the home support workers themselves. And this is an undertaking that the employers themselves have signed up to, and they're the ones that are listed in the schedules to this legislation, sir. The legislation also does make mention of the fact that ACC, home support workers who are working with ACC clients, that area needs to be addressed as well, because otherwise you have, and I've done it myself when I was a home care worker with Nurse Mauds many years ago, if you're working as a home support worker, some of your clients are ACC, but some are covered by DHB, and you get different pay rates because there's no consistency across there. Then this needs to be addressed for ACC home support workers as well, that they get paid their travel time. So, sir, it's going to have a major effect on the industry themselves. But I'm really pleased to see that the employers have signed up to it, that they recognise that in order to provide really good service to those clients in our community, and most of whom are our most vulnerable, that the workers themselves have been vulnerable too. And that these issues of underpayment, of travel time not being paid, that these issues need to be addressed now. In context, sir, there's still a lot of work to be done in the whole sector. As we know, the aged care sector is a female-dominated occupation, and as a consequence, and as Judy McGregor outlined, the wages have been incredibly low. The Christine Bartlett case for rest home workers from the E2 union has also resulted in more negotiations with the sector and with the Crown about how to apply equal pay across this female-dominated workforce, and that's something that we look forward to in the future. So it struck me as I was reading again the bill itself that this bill is the only comparison I can make is that it's similar to a treaty settlement bill, and that there has been major negotiations with several parties, some of whom may or may not be accepting of the deal, but there has been a deal struck. And that deal, that negotiation is now brought before Parliament to be enacted. So it's with pleasure, sir, that we will be supporting this bill, and we look forward to the day when pay equity comes before this House as well.